next to you through the open windows. The sun touched your sleepy body with fingers of light. I'm afraid that you will leave, but instead you softly breathe the words that lighten up my life, dispel all the dark shades and the opaque feeling I was locked in. But now there shines a light that gleams from your reflecting skin.
Welcome back, sinners, to another episode of Saturday Night Cinema. As always, I'm your host, Sawyer St. Sin, and tonight we're going to be talking about a movie that I'm not still 100% sure what's going on, and if it is a horror movie or if it's more of a drama movie, or maybe suspense. It's definitely a thinker, though. This is The Reflecting Skin. I really like its tagline because it's kind of I don't know. So anyways, it's a BBC film. So the tagline just made me laugh knowing that it's a BBC film, because it says it's all a part of the American dream. It's very weird. Anyways, so the director and writer is Philip Ridley. I don't really know much about him. Again, it was a BBC film. I'm not up to snuff on a lot of the BBC stuff other than Doctor Who. And even then, that's a little fuzzy because I haven't really dove into all of them. Anywho, this was released in the UK first, August 1990. Its US release was a year later in June 1991. Cast, starting off, top billed, right? He is the top bill on this, but he doesn't show up in the movie until 41-ish minutes into it. Something like that. It's almost an hour before he pops up. But that is Viggo Mortensen. Ugh. Love him. And he plays Cameron Dove. And then we have Lindsay Duncan, who plays Dolphin Blue. It's kind of a weird name, huh? Yeah. And this is set in the wartime, World War II-ish, I guess, time. Because Viggo's character comes home from war. But anyways, so Dolphin Blue is that's not even hitting hippie era yet, with this name. So who knows if that's even truly her name or not. And then we have Jeremy Cooper. He plays Seth Dove, which pretty much is the main character. I don't think he's billed as the main, per se, and all the Academy and awards and whatnot. I think they technically have him as a supporting role when literally the story revolves around Seth Dove. Period. Seth and Dolphin is they're the two big parts of this. Then we have we have Duncan Fraser as Luke Dove. So that's the father of Cameron and Jeremy, or is Cameron and Seth. And then we have Shelley Moore as their mother, Ruth Dove. And then we have Mr. Robert Coons as Sheriff Ticker. Sheriff Ticker. Now, Sheriff Ticker is an interesting cat as far as character looks goes, because he's missing a hand and missing an eye, and he looks like he's had it rough in this. But he's the sheriff in a little Idaho town. that looks like it doesn't really see much any crime other than like these kids doing some, you know, goofball kid stuff. I don't know how he lost all that. Anyways, so those are our like main characters. Seth does have a couple friends, but they're not really like super big parts. But anyways, so like I said, this is set in like supposed to be, you know, wartime era, super small Idaho community, pretty farming community. Everyone is a farmer, was a farmer, except for Seth's dad. Seth's dad, it is mentioned that he wanted to be a beekeeper, but Ruth would not allow it. She had the idea of the gas station instead. Which, I mean, you know, if you're like a small little town and there's like only like one gas station, well, I mean, you would think that you'd be making some money, right? I mean, you know, nearest town is who knows how far away to the gas station. Anyways, so they filmed this in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. You know, our neighbors to the north. But I found it really kind of crazy how the contrast of the wheat and the sky looked. It's rumored or said that the director like painted some of the wheat to make it look so bright and vibrant and like this yellow color. I mean, there's no way he planted an entire wheat field, right? I mean, there's just, anyways. I mean, it was, you know, like, I mean, they filmed this at the end of the 80s, 88, 89. So, I mean, maybe there was like, you know, just a little bit of that like computer generation stuff going on, maybe. I'm not sure. Especially in like a BBC film that really just like hit the festivals instead of like big box office first. But I mean, who knows? But hand painting seems like really far-fetched. Like really far-fetched. But I mean, that's really all that I have as far as like some details go. They did win a few awards. I think they won like 6 awards. That was my notebook. 6 awards in several different foreign film festivals. But they're not really like big festivals that people like really like know very much of, especially nowadays. But they did win some awards, and most of it was for cinematography as well as the directing. That was a lot of what the awards were. So, I mean, to say that this film was felt a little bit before its time as far as, you know, being released in the 90s would kind of, and it'd be a little bit of an understatement, but it's beautifully done. Like, all of the scenes are shot beautifully. If you follow me on Facebook, you will have seen one of my favorite like still shots with this tiny little boy and these massive, like, you know, jawbones of, you know, whales or sharks. I'm not exactly for sure exactly what they are. And then he's got this big, like, whaling, like, harpoon in his lap. And he just looks so incredibly awkward, yet, like, strong in a way. It's very weird. It's very odd. I watched this movie several days ago, and I still have a lot of questions. So let's just kind of roll along with the story, right? Small town, Idaho, wheat fields galore. Pretty much that's all that's around, other than a couple houses, right? So we have these three friends along this gravel road in town. And you see Seth running through the wheat with this ginormous frog. And their favorite pastime is to explode frogs. Yeah. So Seth takes a straw and blows air into what I can only assume is the butt of the frog, and gets him to where he's big and puffed up with air, right? And just lays him on the road when they see Dolphin coming. They've got it out for her a little bit. I mean, she is kind of, the weird one, like, in their little town. So they run and hide, and Seth gets his slingshot ready. And when she gets right up to it, and she gets down and she's bending down to look at this, like, weird, bloated frog laying on its back, he strikes it with, a rock. And it explodes all over Dolphin. And she's just sitting there screaming as the kids, like, run off. But Seth stops for a minute and really takes a really good look at her before he runs fully off. And he runs back home, and he's, talking to his parents, and his mom is really focused on, Cameron, the war hero, and when he gets back and how, things kind of need to be different. And like, she gets a little emotional, and Seth's like, well, I miss Cameron, and she's like, me too, and reaches to touch his hand, and he kind of like pulls away from her, and you see this, that her and like him have this like really weird relationship. But what she's complaining about is the gas smell, like everything smells like gas. And then like later on, hearing that it was her idea, it's like, well, I mean, it was your idea, shut up. But she's complaining about how everything in the house, everything just smells like gas. And so the dad kind of is like, ugh, whatever, and gets up and goes to the gas station next door. They were in the gas station, so they live right next door. And he sits down and he's reading a comic about vampires. And so Seth's asking him, about the vampires. And he's just telling him, the usual. Like, no reflection in a mirror, can't be in sunlight, drinks blood, all that, right? And Seth, we learn, does not like to drink water. Like, does not drink water. And, his dad's like, man, I'm parched. And so he's like, you want me to get you some water, Dad? And he goes and gets water. And, he tells Seth that he needs to drink some water. He's going to waste away to dust, right? But after this, a very beautiful black Cadillac. Sorry, I started daydreaming about that car again. Pulls up, and Seth is taking care of them, getting them all filled up. But while that's happening, he's like running his fingers down the car, very like nice and soft, and he is just admiring this car. Starts filling it up, and he starts talking to the driver. The driver asks, who's that? He says, it's my dad. Is he a scarecrow? He looks like a scarecrow. Just making some little small talk with this kid. But he also was like, basically like, we'll be seeing you around. And he like touches his face very softly and touches his lips. And it was a very weird encounter. Like, it was very weird. Like, why are you touching this little boy like that? Get your hands off of it. So once they're filled up, they speed away and they're gone, right? But in the meantime, Dolphin has come over to his mom's house and has told his mom what has happened with the frog. And, then she goes off, and the mom, of course, is yelling at Seth and saying that he needs to go over to her house right away and apologize. And so he goes. He really doesn't want to do it at all. But, she lets him in, and they start talking. She starts telling him, when she was younger, she did, things as well that were, pretty scandalous, and, exploding frogs she actually thought was kind of funny, but it was just the premise of, he ruined her dress. And they get to talking about, she is a widow. She says that she's like 200 years old. Said that her and her husband were happy for about a month before she found him hung up in the barn. I would say that being married for a month and then finding your spouse like hung up in the barn, probably somebody wasn't happy, and it seems like it was him. But she's got like his teeth, his hair, even a bottle of like his sweat like tucked away. And I mean, Seth's really kind of weirded out by this. And also, like, she gives the harpoon to him. She's like, it was like before they became farmers, they were whalers, and like gave this little boy this big ass harpoon. It was weird. But when she started smelling her husband, yeah, guys, she like had his sweat like on her hands, and she's like having this like really big emotional like scene, and pretty much like scares the shit out of Seth. He like runs off, and he's like, the whole time he's running home, he has this ginormous harpoon that he's running with. So Seth gets home, and he just props the harpoon like up against the the door frame, right? And I believe it's at this, like, oh, I forgot. Also, the children's hangout where they like to go after they, do whatever things it is that they do, like exploding frogs. They run to this, it has a big cross on it, which made me think it was a church, but then like inside it's just a bunch of hay, like an old barn, that just so happens to have a big cross on the top of it. It's very odd. Anyways, that's their hangout. So one of the friends of Seth goes missing. They're not sure what happened. His dad, poor thing, his dad had just like lost his wife, like a little bit before, and now his son is missing. He's completely distraught, and he's over at the Dove's house just like asking Seth like if he knows anything, and Seth really doesn't know anything. And it kind of sucks. But that night, Seth goes to his room, and he's got the vampires comic, and he lights the lantern. But shortly after he lights the lantern, he can't really get into the book that much. His mom comes in, and she's like, lights out, blows it out. She's like, no more, or you're gonna drink water, And, oh, I'm sorry. The water thing happened before the kids Dad came over. That's right. I got that a little backwards. So she leaves. He grabs the matches underneath his pillow, like literally not even like seconds after she shuts the door. And he lights up the match and she opens the door. And so she takes him downstairs and is literally pouring like a pitcher of water into his face. And he like sounds like he's going to drown. He's coughing and he's like, you know, just he looks like he's hating every minute of it. Like it hurts that it's even touching his mouth. And she's like, you're gonna sit here and drink this until you explode. Like very abusive, like to this child. So then, you know, his dad comes home with his friend, and that's when they find out that the child is missing, and the child's dad is like holding on to Seth really tight, and Seth looks like so uncomfortable, and unfortunately Seth just like pees all over himself because his mom just forced a shit ton of water down his throat. I felt really bad for him. No, that was terrible. So the next day he meets up with his, you know, friend, and he's like telling him like about the encounter that he had with Dolphin, and you know, that he thinks that, you know, she's an alien, or she's a vampire. He swears that she's a vampire. But after they're done, you know, hanging out for the day, he goes to the gas station and goes to get his dad some water like he normally does. And he finds his friend's body in their like water tank in the back. And even though like his father says that he had nothing to do with it because of a past affair with a 17-year-old boy, the sheriff and the sheriff deputy are very suspicious. And I mean, the little boy's body did show up like in your water tank. So, I mean, that's already suspicious right there. And so when the sheriff deputy leaves, Ruth starts berating Mr. Dove, and you know, I can't go through this again, I won't go through this again, just, you know, laying into him, right? So he goes over to the gas station. He has some matches in his hand. He then proceeds to pour gasoline in his mouth and all over his body, and right before, you know, he lights the match, Seth is right there, and he's like, you know, Papa? And then Dad and the gas station all are in flames. Now, as this is happening, we see like Ruth and Seth and the little boy's dad and like the deputy all around watching, right? And Ruth is completely like losing it, you know. I mean, she's watching like not only her husband, but you know, like their life's earnings, like what they do for a living, like going up in flames. But Seth, I mean, he kind of has a weird little smile on his face. It's very odd, very weird. Don't know what's going on. Yeah. So, the boys, next we cut to the boys breaking into Dolphin's house. Yeah. And they go upstairs to her room, and they start demolishing everything. Just demolishing her entire room. And as they like lay in her bed, surrounded by all of her broken stuff, very happy with themselves, she comes back home. And she starts to what I can only describe as masturbation. That's what it seems like it is. Pleasuring herself, touching herself. The boys walk down and they're watching her. And as they try to sneak out of the house through a window, she catches them. And she starts screaming, they start screaming, she's screaming some more, they're screaming some more. And they take off out the front door to their hideout. Where then it looks like they're like searching for something. And they find this weird like cocoon situation. And then inside of this weird cocoon situation, they find this very odd fetus, newborn baby. Y'all, I don't know. And then not only do they want to keep this, they start fighting over who gets to keep it, because they think that it's their friend, that he's an angel in this little form, right? This little dead baby they think is their friend who's an angel. And so they would start fighting over it, and Seth wins the fight, and he takes it home. He starts sleeping with it and talking to it. Then Cameron comes home because Dad's dead and we gotta, bury Dad, and he's the man of the house now. So Cameron comes home. Vigo, so handsome. So handsome. Anyways, that's not what we're talking about right now. Sorry. And so he comes home. They bury Dad. Cameron doesn't really necessarily want to talk about what happened at the war. He seems like he just wants to forget everything about it. He doesn't really care for it at all. While they are at the gravesite for his father, the sheriff comes along and he wants to talk to Seth, and he's asking, did your father ever touch you inappropriately? And he's like, no. Like, what do you mean? And so the sheriff is just kind of like, okay, well, whatever. But while the sheriff is talking to Seth, Dolphin comes to the grave site to visit her husband. And she captures the eye of Cameron. And Cameron's talking to her and, trying to, flirt, I guess, And Seth's like, just keeps pulling him away, and I thought something landed on me. Sorry, guys, that scared me a little bit. Bugs, this is summer. So Seth's just, trying to get in the way. Trying to, don't talk to her, she's a vampire situation, And Cameron gets mad and shoves him, and, Dolphin, walks off, and, Cameron's ticked, and he walks off and just leaves Seth there sitting in the grass in the graveyard. But, turns out that, Cameron is very smitten with Dolphin. He wants to, pursue a relationship with her. Seth finds him at her house. They're talking, and then something happens. I don't know exactly what happens, but he's talking about, what happened at the, for the war and everything, and she starts, cradling him, and then like takes off his shirt, and then the next thing you know, he's like naked, cuddled in her arms, and we either see Vigo butt or Vigo's stand-in butt. I'm hoping that it's Vigo's because it's a nice little butt. Anyways, moving on. So Seth like runs out of the house and he's upset because he's like, this like friggin' vampire is gonna take away like, you know, my brother, and like he goes and he talks to the fetus about it, right? So weird. One of the little boys, like, dad comes yelling about like, where is he, you know, talking about the father. Cameron's like, dude, like, we buried him, remember, he's dead, like, it's, you know, and he's like, no, she's hiding him. And you know, since the father passed away, the mother has just, she's checked out, like full checked out, like space cadet is just not even on this planet, poor thing. I can only imagine. I mean, if my husband did that in front of me and my child, yeah, you'd probably have to send me to the loony bin. I'm just saying. I need to be medicated heavily. You know, and Seth's trying to, like, you know, there's fights, and Seth is, you know, trying to stop the fight, and the little boy's dad goes for the harpoon and starts trying to kill Cameron with the harpoon. Cameron's dummy self grabs it and like tries to pull and slashes his hands open. But they're able to subdue him and get him out. And Cameron and Seth are sitting at the table, and Seth is, you know, washing Cameron's rooms, getting them all cleaned up, and Dolphin shows up. And they invite her in, and, you know, she's like, can I help? And Seth is like, you know, very rudely like, get the away, you know? He's just like, no, I've got this. And Cameron, you know, also is just like, man, come on, Seth, like, stop being like that. But not in a very nice way. Like, it doesn't seem like anybody's really nice to Seth, poor thing. Cameron is very rude, but, you know, Cameron is also, you know, I mean, he's old enough to be enlisted in the army, and Seth looks to be about like 8 or 9. So there is a huge difference in age, so I can only imagine that, you know, Cameron is just like, dude, just stay out of my way. But so, like, Dolphin takes over and starts kissing Vigo. Lucky. And Seth gets, you know, upset, of course. So the next, like, little thing that happens, it's pretty big, is that Seth is walking down the road and he sees his friend, you know, the little boy that he fought over the fetus with, walking, and they go to meet, and then the black car shows up. You know, the black car full of, you know, leather jacket, grease haircut guys. Show up and take his friend away. And Seth doesn't say anything to anybody about it. Doesn't, you know, doesn't say anything. Next day, Seth sees some commotion happening over by a barn. So he goes over there, and the little boy's mother is like, he had something to do with it, he's evil, you know, like, just completely blaming Seth for it. He knows something, right? Well, and they pull the little boy's body out of the barn. And so the sheriff is asking, you know, Seth questions about if he knew anything, or, you know, he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know nothing. But the mother still thinks that he had something to do with it. Who knows? Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. I'm not sure. The last thing we saw was he got taken away in a black car with those guys. So Seth is then told by Cameron that he's running away with Dolphin. So Cameron doesn't care. You know, he's like, this is gonna make me happy. She makes me happy. Like, end of story. So Seth is walking and he like sees Dolphin, which all this time that we've seen Dolphin, she's been in black dress, black veil, black sunglasses. I mean, she's a widow, so it makes sense, right? But this time that we see her, white dress, white scarf on the head. She's looking very ethereal. White shoes. Still black sunglasses because, you know, I don't think they had white ones necessarily in the town in which they lived, right? Anyways, so he runs into her and they're talking, and, you know, she's telling him that she's running into town before her and Cameron, you know, like leave. And who shows up? The black car with the boys. You know, and they offer her a ride and she gets in. They offer Seth a ride. And he pretty much is like, not yet. What do you mean not yet? What kind of stuff is that? That's weird. Not yet. Anyways, so later on that day, about, you know, close to sundown, we see some commotion not too far away from Seth's house. And Cameron hasn't seen or, you know, Dolphin in a while, and so you kind of like see this look on his face of like he's suspicious about something, right? And so they go to see what's up, and there's Dolphin lying dead right outside of a wheat field that's been plowed. And so Cameron has a very big, you know, reaction to this. Like, the love of his life is, you know, lying there dead. Seth is, you know, trying to like comfort his brother, and it's just not happening. And then, you know, Ruth is trying to like hug Seth, and Seth doesn't want to have anything to do with his mom, pretty much. And he just like starts running into this like plowed wheat field, right? He stops at one point, and he like drops to his knees, and he's like yelling and crying and like picking up dirt and, you know, doing all this stuff. So I don't know why he had such a reaction to that. I mean, it didn't even seem like he liked Dolphin at all. But that's how we end the movie. So like, question one, who was killing all these people? We don't know. The only death that we know for sure as to how, when, where, who done it was the suicide. That's it. Everybody else is, who knows? Nobody knows. Well, I mean, the writer probably, you know, has some inkling as to what it... The movie doesn't give any kind of wrapping up in a nice little bow about what this is. Was there a vampire? We don't know. We don't know. Was Seth a vampire? No. Was Dolphin a vampire? No. We don't know. Was Seth killing his friends? I don't know. Was it the boys in the car that were killing people? I don't know. That's my suspicion. It was the dudes in the car. Look, 2 people went into the car with you. None of them made it out alive. I'm going with the dudes in the car. Just saying. I have someone else who thinks that they are minions of Seth's and that Seth is the ringleader having everyone killed. I don't know. Guys. I don't know. This left me with more questions, and I don't know how I feel about it, other than, like, the actual filming of it is beautiful. Like, it is beautiful. Story-wise, I got some issues. I like to know results. I'd like to know who done it. That's why I don't like to listen to true crime stories that don't have some kind of resolution ending. I like to have some kind of resolution. If it don't have a resolution, it irritates me. So, anyways, look at it, watch it. It's called The Reflecting Skin. Also, so reason it's called that is a very small, little minute part, right? So Seth is shown by Cameron some photos, and one is of a baby who has come into some kind of unfortunate disease that makes his skin reflective like a mirror. And that's where the name of the movie has come from. Yeah, it's kind of odd. Anyways, you should watch it. It was something. But mainly you should watch it because, like, if you have theories as to what is going on, I would like to hear them. I want to hear them. So if you watch it, comment down below. Let me know your theories. But so we have come to the time now of, oh man, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 more in here. See, 9 little pieces of paper. So I'm gonna have to write down some more pretty soon. But anyways, let's get in here, throw this around. Ooh. Let's see, what's this one? Oh, you guys. So it says TCM. Do you know what that stands for? Do ya? Do ya? I'll give you a hint. My name comes from it. And the Saw is family. Yeah, it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I was hoping that this one would be pulled soon. My director, editor, partner in crime who watches everything with me doesn't seem to be too happy. But, so next week, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. As always, have a lovely evening, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.
Next to you, through the open windows, the sun touched your sleepy body with fingers of light. I'm afraid that you will leave, but instead you softly breathe the words that lighten up my life, dispel all the dark shades and the opaque feeling I was locked in. But now there shines a light that gleams from your reflecting skin.